how much money does it cost to enter Formula One? And I'm not talking as a driver, I'm talking as a team. So I asked myself this question a few days ago when I saw the tweet from Mohammed Ben Sulayem, the president of the FIA, where essentially he said that the application for the new Formula One team will soon be open. Wait, there are applications? I mean, you fill a form like MasterChef and X Factor and you race in Formula One? Well, it's a bit funny, but it's not that far from the truth. So I will be applying for the Formula One team. It will be called the Naska team. So, well, jokes aside, I will explain you all the steps and the costs. Step 1, the FIA. What is the FIA? FIA stands for Fédération Internationale de l'Automobile, which is the international federation, which basically plays the role of the referee in Formula One, in the sense that they write the rules. But you also must know that the FIA owns the name of Formula One. That means that if you want to organize a car racing championship, you cannot call it Formula One. Wait, but wasn't Formula One owned by Liberty Media? Not exactly. Liberty Media owns the Formula One Group, which is the company that owns the commercial rights of Formula One until 2110. Yeah, that's not a mistake. They literally have the rights until 2110. So, but why this division of powers? This division was born with Bernie Ecclestone, who basically told FIA, keep the name and write the rules. You can also be the referee, but give me the commercial rights for a time so long that who knows if motorsport will still exist. Now, since I, Bernie Ecclestone, own every right for the commercial use of the Formula One, all the money will flow through me. I will be the one who runs the affair of the circus and the televisions, the hospitality, the promoters that will pay me. And above all, I will be the one who redistribute the money to the teams. Yes, because team gets money from the Formula One group. We will see soon. So the FIA holds the name, writes the rules, and takes care of the sporting part, while the Formula One Group, which nowadays belongs to Liberty Media, holds all the economic power. Okay, so who decides which new teams can join the Formula One? The FIA. Yes, but obviously also Formula One Group will come into play, but we will see it in the second step. So, perfect. How do I go to the FIA and say, okay, I want to build the Naska team? Basically, the FIA, when they decide, they will publish a tender announcing the evaluation of new Formula One teams. And they don't do it every year. They do it whenever they want for the season that they want. And the last time they did it was in 2013, where they published an announcement that they were looking for one new Formula One racing team. That team was Haas, which should have started racing in 2015, but they started racing in 2016. So in the case of the Ben Sulayem's announcement, made a few days ago, we can assume that he refers to the 2026 racing season. Okay, so once the FIA published the announcement, what should I do? I just go to the website and download it. And now the first money comes into place. The numbers that I'm about to tell you have been found by Scott Mitchell-Malm in an article by The Race that I will link in below. And the first payment is approximately $5,000. Not to participate in the tender, but just to be able to know which documents you should provide. Yeah, you should pay $5,000 just to know the documents. It's like if you're going to a theme party and you have to pay €5 not to enter the party, but just to know how you have to be dressed. Okay, but let's say that I have $5,000, so I can spend them. So now I can apply. No, because now there's much more money to spend. Because with those $5,000, you got the list of the document that you have to provide, and this list is so long and so huge. Just to give you an idea, not only you have to provide all the society information and all the legal stuff, but you also have to provide the curriculums of all the most important figures of the team, including the technical director. So that means that even if you still don't know if you will ever be racing in Formula One, you already have to know who will be working in the team. And with those documents, they will evaluate everything. If you have the money to start, if there is land to build the headquarters, if there are the financial resources and for how many seasons, which sponsors, who will be the sport director, who will be the team principal, all of it. And these evaluations comes with a cost. They estimate it to be $100,000. In 2013, it was around $130,000. So goodbye, Naska team. And if you think it's a lot of money, you really have no idea what we're talking about now. Because for those wanting to join Formula One, these are just nuts. Because a team to enter Formula One must comply with the budget cap starting from the season before the first season. This makes sense because if you want to race in 2026, you cannot spend $100 billion in 2025 and get to race with the fastest car ever made because you just didn't respect the budget cap. But we said, okay, the budget cap is just a limit of money you can spend. So in the season before the first season, you can spend maybe 1 million just to save money. Obviously not, because the FIA would never accept the candidacy of a team who doesn't want to spend the maximum on the construction of a new race car, because that would probably mean that they would struggle financially. So the year before starting to race, you already have to spend 135 millions. And where do you build the car if you don't have the warehouse? You have to start from scratch and build everything. And just to let you know, Aston Martin are going to spend $250 million for their new facility. Okay, they also have the wind tunnel. Let's say you want to spend 150 millions to build the facility. You want to save a bit of money. So we are already at $135 million for the first budget cap and $150 million to build the facility, which, if you add up marketing and all other small stuff, gets you to $300 million only for the first step and before even racing the first race. Okay, so at this point you may say, okay, that's it, that's all, we can race. Not at all, because now there is the step 2. Until now we were swimming in the fish pool with all the tiny fishes swimming with you. Now we just entered the shark's tank. In fact, it's not only the FIA that has to give the green light for the team, but it's also Formula One Group, which holds the commercial part of the Formula One. And the new team must agree to the Concord Agreement to participate in the championship. And what is this agreement? It is a contract that binds all the Formula One racing teams and regulates the redistribution of money at the end of every season. What money? I will explain you. I will use the 2022 numbers that come from the Racing News 365 video that I linked below. And keep in mind that these numbers come from good sources, but nobody will ever know the exact truth as long as we don't live inside Formula One, okay? So in one season, Formula One Group collects a lot of money. In 2022, it's estimated to be $2.2 billion. All those monies come from TV rights, promoters, hospitality, merchandising, sponsors, etc. So what happens to those money? Liberty Media holds around 800 millions, where part of it is the income and the other part covers the expenses, while the remaining 1.4 billion is redistributed to the teams. So from this 1.4 billion, 400 millions are distributed as bonuses to the most winning teams. One portion of these 400 goes to the team that historically won. For example, those who have won at least one Constructor Championship, a bit more to those who have won 2, and in this list we can include Red Bull, Mercedes, Williams. The rest of these 400 millions is distributed to the teams that have recently won. For example, a ranking is made of those teams that finished first, second and third in the last 10 years, and according to that ranking, those money are redistributed. So we are left with 1 billion. How is that billion distributed? About 5% of it goes to Ferrari. You may say, why Ferrari? And the remaining 95% is distributed based on the previous season's manufacturer standings. Who is first takes about 14%, while who is last takes around 6% of the slice. And all the other teams in between take a different percentage according to the final classification. In a nutshell, we may say that between each position in the final classification in the World Construction title means a difference of more than $10 million. So that's why it's so important to gain every position in the World Constructor Championship. And also you understand how winning the Constructor title can get you more money for the following years. So, have you noticed? A big percentage of what Liberty Media makes is redistributed to the teams. Which means that from that revenue pie, every team gets a slice. Slice, which is bigger or smaller depending on the results. And what happens when you invite someone else to eat from that pie? it happens that everyone else's slice will be smaller, because splitting a pie into 10 or 11 parts make a big difference. So now you understand why almost every Formula 1 racing team don't want the Andretti Cadillac team to enter Formula 1, because otherwise they will get less money from the Formula 1 group. So it's reasonable to think that to compensate this loss that every team has, the new team will have to pay $20 million for each of the 10 teams. That makes $200 million. So in the end, the sum is very easy. 300 million just to start everything, 200 millions to compensate the loss to the other teams, which is like going to the birthday party where you haven't been invited and bringing a cake. It makes sense. And that makes $500 million just to sketch a Formula 1 racing team. Then you have to race. You have to cover the budget cap for every season. So we can assume 150 million for every season, which includes the budget cap and the power units. And we're not including the marketing, the salaries of the drivers, unless you don't want two Mazepins racing in your team. In short, imagining a 5-season project, 500 millions to start, 750 millions for the 5 seasons, 250 millions for the marketing, extras, drivers, which makes the total amount for 6 years of 5 racing seasons to $1.5 billion. That's what's estimated to be the total to enter Formula 1 as a racing team.